Have you ever wondered how pirates really slept during those freezing nights on the open sea? Most people imagine adventure, roaring fires, barrels of rum, laughter under the stars. But the truth is much colder, quieter, and lonelier than you've ever heard. Tonight, I'll tell you something that's never been shown clearly before. A truth that lived in the frozen decks and trembling bones of men who called the sea their home. So stay with me. Don't skip ahead. Because somewhere in this story lies an answer most people have forgotten. How pirates found sleep in a world where warmth was almost a miracle. The ocean never truly rested. Even when the winds calmed, the sea kept whispering, a slow, endless voice that filled every corner of the night. Pirates lived in that sound. Beneath the creak of the wooden hull and the soft slap of waves against the side, there was a rhythm that never stopped. At night, that rhythm became both a lullaby and a curse. The air froze their breath before it reached the deck. The ropes stiffened like bones. Their coats, thin, torn, and soaked with salt, barely held the cold away. They slept beside barrels, ropes, and damp walls that sweated with seawater. The smell of tar and mould was everywhere. If you've ever felt the sting of cold wind through wet clothes, you might understand what they endured each night. There was beauty, yes, stars like scattered glass, glowing silver on the surface of black waves. But that beauty was cruel. It reminded them of the warmth they did not have, the land they might never see again, and the comfort that belonged only to dreams. Beneath the deck, where light barely touched the air, the pirates slept in hammocks, rough cloth tied between wooden beams, swinging gently with the ship. At first, sway felt comforting, almost like being cradled by the ocean. But when storms came, the hammocks turned into cages that swung wildly in the dark. The men tied themselves in to avoid being thrown out while sleeping. The air below deck was thick with the smell of unwashed bodies, salt, and gunpowder. The ceiling dripped with condensation, and rats moved silently in the shadows. Every breath carried the taste of wood smoke and sweat. Still, that small, rocking space became their own refuge. The deck above was too cold. The wind there could strip a man's warmth in minutes. Down below, at least they had the heat of each other, dozens of tired bodies breathing the same heavy air. It wasn't comfort, not really. It was survival disguised as rest. Yet somehow, among the swaying ropes and flickering candlelight, sleep came. Not deep, not peaceful, but enough to keep them alive for one more day on the endless sea. To live aboard a pirate ship was to breathe the same air again and again. The ship seemed alive, groaning, sighing, and whispering as it carried its crew across the dark. Every space smelled of salt and men. Blankets were never dry. The walls sweated. Mould crept through corners. When the sea was calm, the stillness inside became unbearable. You could hear the slow breathing of 50 men, each one caught in restless dreams. Sometimes the silence broke with a cough, a whispered curse, or the distant crash of a wave. For months at a time, no one smelled grass, wood smoke, or anything but the living body of the ship. The scent became part of them, soaked into their hair, their skin, their very bones. Even after they stepped on land, it followed them. Old pirates would say that once you've slept beneath a ship's deck, you never stop smelling the sea. It lives inside you, like a ghost that won't leave. To live aboard a pirate ship was to breathe the same air again and again. The ship seemed alive, groaning, sighing, and whispering as it carried its crew across the dark. Every space smelled of salt and men. Blankets were never dry. The walls sweated. Mould crept through corners. When the sea was calm, the stillness inside became unbearable. You could hear the slow breathing of 50 men, each one caught in restless dreams. Sometimes the silence broke with a cough, a whispered curse, or the distant crash of a wave. For months at a time, no one smelled grass, wood smoke, or anything but the living body of the ship. The scent became part of them, soaked into their hair, their skin, their very bones. Even after they stepped on land, it followed them. Old pirates would say that once you've slept beneath a ship's deck, you never stop smelling the sea. It lives inside you, like a ghost that won't leave. The worst enemy was not the sea, nor the storms. It was the cold. It crawled into their bones, a slow, burning pain that refused to leave. No fire could fight it, no blanket could hide from it. When winter winds blew across the open water, the ship turned into an icebox. Frost clung to the ropes, the decks turned slick with ice, and the pirates' breath hung like ghosts in the air. Some wrapped their feet in rags. Others pressed close together for warmth. There were nights when a man would fall asleep and never wake again. The next morning, his shipmates would carry him up to the deck, frozen and still, and give him to the sea without a word. The ocean swallowed the dead silently, and yet the living kept sailing, because they had to. Survival was the only law. Every sunrise that followed felt like a small victory, proof that even the cruelest night could not take them all. When the cold finally loosened its grip, and sleep began to pull them under, the pirates' dreams came alive in strange ways. The sea had a way of invading their minds. They dreamed of home, of warm fires and the smell of bread, but the sound of waves always followed them, even inside the dream. Some men whispered in their sleep, calling names of people long dead. Others woke screaming, their bodies shaking as if they were drowning again. Life at sea blurred the line between waking and sleeping. After months without real rest, the mind started to bend. They saw shapes moving in the fog, voices whispering through the wind, faces appearing in the shimmer of moonlight on the water. To the world above, they were pirates, ruthless men with no fear. But down here, half asleep in the dark belly of the ship, they were only human, lonely, exhausted, and haunted by a sea that never let them go. If you could walk through the lower deck of a pirate ship at night, your first memory would be the smell. It was not the clean scent of the ocean, but something heavier: salt, tar, smoke, sweat, and fear. Every piece of wood carried the story of storms survived, blood spilled, and meals cooked over open flame. The pirates had stopped noticing it long ago. Their bodies had adapted, their senses dulled. To newcomers, the stench could crush the breath out of your lungs. Yet within that smell was proof of life, the proof that men could live through anything when they had no choice. Every scar, every breath, every patch of damp cloth told a story of endurance. The sea wanted them dead, yet here they were, wrapped in filth but still breathing. And to them, that was victory enough. The nights forged bonds stronger than any oath. When you slept shoulder to shoulder with a man through storms and frost, you stopped caring where he came from or what flag he once served. In the darkness below deck, everyone was equal. The same hunger, the same trembling, the same battle against the cold. They shared rum when they had it, laughter when they could, and silence when nothing else was left. Sometimes, one man would wake another just to make sure he was still alive. There were no leaders in that hour, only brothers who had chosen the sea over comfort. The world above called them thieves. But down here, they were something else. Men who trusted one another with their lives and with the fragile warmth of their final breath. The morning finally came. It didn't bring comfort. The first light slipped through cracks in the deck, pale and colourless. The sea outside glowed like dull silver. The pirates stirred, groaning, stretching their numb limbs. The hammocks were stiff with salt and ice. Some would climb up to the deck, squinting into the cold dawn, faces pale as the mist. The wind hit like knives, but it also meant survival. The night hadn't won. They scraped frost from the ropes, lit small fires in iron pots, and laughed like madmen just to feel alive again. For them, each sunrise was proof that they could endure anything, that no storm, no empire, and no winter could claim them yet. The ocean might steal their warmth, but it would never take their will to live. Years later, the few who survived those frozen voyages still spoke of the sea as if it were alive. They said that when you've slept through nights like that, when your bones have known that kind of cold, you never really leave the ocean. Even on land, you wake in the middle of the night expecting to hear the creak of wood, the sigh of ropes, the hum of the wind. Some old pirates built small hammocks in their huts just to feel the sway of the ship again. The ocean had taken everything from them: friends, warmth, youth, but it had also given them something eternal, silence that spoke louder than any voice. And so, whenever the wind howled across the shore, they smiled. Because they knew the sea was calling them home once more.